Everybody, coming up on Sports Central, we really have some great celebrities in the house and some hot topics. No pun intended, it is hot outside. Dan Talbot with the school board, athletic director. We also have Bob Schade from Cypresswood Golf Course, and the ever-present everywhere, Mike Donnelly, Florida Southern basketball. Stick around, everybody, for this edition of Sports Central. Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports Central. Wow, what a great day, what a great week. We've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm Mark Jackson. To my right, to your left on your television viewing screen is Mr. Neal Duncan, sitting in for very tired Hank Longo.
Yeah, he's been really busy, and 2 weeks ago, Chris and I were able to host the show, and we're hearing from PGTV staff the ratings went way up. So if they stay there...
Well, they went way up compared to where you guys normally are. You can't fall out of a hole.
That's true. Before we get too far down the road, this segment brought to us by Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill, great partner of tourism, sports marketing, and one of those great restaurants in Polk County. That you definitely want to go out and support with the restaurant industry and everything going on. Definitely want to go
I've been
support.
told they have the coldest beer in town.
I'm sure you have been told.
You know, that would be a nice thing for people to go out golfing in the afternoon. That's our first subject today.
That's right.
Golf.
Yep.
You know, it's one of the things that throughout this whole current situation has really peaked. And golf is one of those sports you can social distance. You can still play with your friends. If you don't want to pick up the stick and you just hit it, you know, good enough. Some of the scores have improved because of that, but here to tell us about it and what's going on in the world of golf, particularly stack and tilt method of golf instruction, Mr. Bob Schade, the pro out at Cypresswood, one of my favorite golf courses. I haven't had an invitation from Amy Fox to come out and golf with her, Miss Hole in One.
Yes,
but
that's true.
she, you know, one of these days she'll stoop to us commoners and allow us to come out.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, I appreciate being on again. It's been about a year. I think, you know, the COVID-19 situation at the golf course has provided an opportunity to provide an entertainment outlet for many of our residents and in the East Polk County area that have not been able to get outside. We were very busy because we were deemed essential, and we've continued that until we started our construction here in the 1st of May.
Well, the construction,
yeah,
that's new to me.
Our community has invested the past 3 years almost $2 million on reconstructing our golf course. We've got new greens, we've got new tees, we've got new bunkers, new surrounds, and we're going to open up right around November 1st. November 7th is our grand opening party. We're going to have that Folds of Honor tournament, the Patriot Golf Day. We pushed that a little forward. We're going to have a very big day with live music all day, food everywhere, the pool open for people to come out and see us. We're open to the public. I think there's, you know, that's something we want to emphasize. People can come in that gate. It helps secure our residents, but we still want the public to come in and enjoy the golf course, the Cypresswood Pub, our restaurant and venue site, and really invite the public to come see us.
Is the course closed now?
Yes, we're doing the 90-day grow-in. We're in the middle of that.
Okay.
Again, we're going to be open, like I said, around November 1st, and we're looking forward to showing off. It's going to look awesome.
Fantastic.
I got a couple questions. Is there any correlation between Mark Jackson liking to play there at Cypresswood to having to renovate the course? Is there a connection
There's
between
not a direct correlation, but we put some barriers up to keep Mark Jackson in the fairway to make it more user-friendly for all of our players, not just Mark Jackson.
They did have to fix a few divot marks.
We do have a steady supply of sand coming in from our sand supplier. So Mark's safe. He can come and play and not feel guilty.
Well, you talk about the renovation, and it's important to every so often do this to the course to keep it at a top championship level. But also, is there anything about the course that's going to change and maybe, you know, a par 4 turn into a 5 or, you know,
not so much from the architectural genius that Ron Garl from Lakeland did back in the early 70s, but what we've done is we've change some of the bunkers and change some of the surrounds to make it more user-friendly. That's really what we're trying to do, to get more participation. Golf is hard, we know that, with proper instruction, as you mentioned, the stack and tilt, and a golf course that allows you to play different shots from close up to the green. It just makes it a little bit more user-friendly. So that was our goal, is to make it more user-friendly for our customers and to invite more people to come out and play.
Let's jump back to stack and tilt for a second, because a lot of people are not familiar with that, and a lot of our viewers just happen to be golfers. Tell us a little bit about what that means. You know, what kind of technique is that? What are you teaching?
Stack and tilt is a system of golf designed around a 3D template that was designed by Andy Plummer, and it basically it sets forth a process that you can start anybody. I have 3-year-old students, and I've got a 101-year-old student. So anybody can start. Still hope for you, Neal.
Yeah, Neal can do it.
I'm the 3, he's the 101.
Yeah, and it starts off with the premise that you have a center line, you have weight forward, you have arms straight, hands in. There's that fourth and fifth word that I talked about.
Yeah.
And it just gives a template for both the student and the teacher to follow, so they can both kind of see a path. That's part of the problem with golf, is that golf instruction is that the instructor, before I got in stack and tilt, I was doing that, just trying to fix the problem at hand. Now I don't need to do that. I offer a solution and a pathway to get to that solution. And you know, I'm not tapping myself on the head, knockers on everything, but we have really had some really good success. And those students are seeing improvement. They enjoy the game more. They play more because they're having more fun enjoying the game. So that's what it's about.
Just to make sure I had it straight in my head, November 1st is when the course reopens?
That's what we're looking at. Yeah, it's a late October, early November. I'm targeting November 1st, about a week before that grand opening.
Oh, that's a beautiful time in Polk County.
Yeah, oh, it's a gorgeous time. And then is it the Patriot Day that you call it?
Yeah, it's the Patriot Golf Day, which is typically around Labor Day, but because we're under construction, we're going to push that off until November. That's an annual event that we have at our golf course, and we're going to coincide that with our grand opening. So have golf in the morning, and then start the party after that with the live music at the pub and at the pool and throughout the facility.
Oh, that'll be fun.
A big day with appropriate social distancing.
Yeah, well, the Patriot Day, you could even do sort of an early Veterans Day, because Veterans Day is 4 days later.
Right. So we're going to kind
11th.
of tie all those things together.
Okay.
We're going to do the donation to the Folds of Honor Foundation, which helps the families of the fallen.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be a lot of red, white, and blue there that day, I'm sure.
It's like we're moving our whole year.
Yeah, right.
Back 6 months.
Yes,
and
sir.
we're going to start over and move it through. Like we got the Masters are in November, right?
Yeah, it's it's the second weekend in November, I believe.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's just everything just moved back.
We're all got to be willing to change and get back, then get this economy back going, and get out and have some fun and enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, a lot of the programs, you teach stack and tilt, but you have programs for kids, you have programs for beginners. Tell us a little bit about some of the activities, because it's so nice if you're a resident at Cypresswood, but even if you're not a resident, you can come out and participate in a lot of these programs that you have available.
Right. You got beginner clinics that we have on the weekends and weekdays in the evenings. We have kids clinic throughout the school year for the kids, a couple days a week. We have a ladies clinic that we've developed, and some high intensity females that love to play the game, that are learning together, so they get that bonding and they like to go out and play more golf. It's building a community of golfers to just build the game up, and I think we're headed that way. Golf is starting to see that resurgent that we talked about earlier, and in particular in this area. I've been fortunate to go around and see some of the other golf courses where we've been under construction, and in a lot of these places they're filling tee times, which is good to see.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. We want to see that economy, start to circulate that money again.
Yes, sir.
If money isn't circulating in our local area, nationally, whatever, the velocity money, we're gonna have a problem, and we have a problem now. So people have got to get out and travel, exercise, do some things that they used to do, and without fear, especially with golf, of being intimidated by being around a bunch of people. Because in golf, that isn't what it's all about.
Yes, sir. You're correct.
It closest, you're 300 yards, but if you're playing in front of Neal, you can, 150 is plenty safe.
And in the middle of the fairway, it's
Yeah,
safe
well,
as well.
150 into the woods. That's right. Well, and you talk about natural spaces and social distancing, and we've talked about, on the leisure travel side of things, or even on the outdoor recreation side, that Polk County, that's been our wheelhouse for a very long time. So as you look at silver linings for the sport of golf, and we talked about a little bit earlier, if there's a silver lining part of the COVID-19, it is the resurgence of the golf,
Yes.
the sport of golf. And again, Polk County is very blessed with the amount of wonderful courses we have here, not just Cypresswoods, but all across the county. And we're hearing what you're hearing as well, that the rounds are considerably up during this time period.
Yeah, it's interesting the amount of inquiries I'm getting for instruction, for people asking about the golf course, wanting to get involved from people who, obviously are new to the game, and that's always an encouraging sign. It gives me, light when you go through these troubled times, if you will. You can see the end of it, and you can see that people are going to be outside and doing golf and doing other outside physical activities and not stuck with their face in the device all day long, especially our young people.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm curious, because I play Cypresswood a fair amount, what's the biggest change out there? Like the biggest change to one hole? I know number 7 or 8, par 3. I think it's a
7 has the par 3 over the water.
Yeah. Is that you changing any of that?
The biggest change that we made to the golf course is getting it back to 2000 level when the golf course was reconstructed the last time. You talked about the time. It's about a 20-year block of time typically that a golf course kind of reinvents itself. And one of the things we've done, we've expanded our bunkers back to that thing, which basically back to that size, and that's basically added about 2/3 more bunker space on that golf course.
Oh, great.
So when you go, so bunker lessons will become a premium item in my lesson repertoire.
You're here to sell the golf course,
right.
not detract from it.
That's all right. That's all right. But the visual effect of that, not only when you're driving down State Road 542 or you're going through the community, you see these big, beautiful white bunkers, and it just looks like a golf course.
Yeah.
And it really, the visual appeal of that is really, really outstanding.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. That's
And I
gonna
will
be fun.
invite you out and we can play together.
Okay.
Neal playing the group ahead of us. We don't want it behind us. We'll get in trouble.
I always like a target.
I won't hit you.
He wonders why balls keep coming his way. Well, usually if I go out and play with Neal, I put a big bullseye on his back and say, Neal, you play in front of us, and we all try to hit him.
It's a little Wile E. Coyote, right?
This guy.
He's special.
Bob, thanks so much for joining us. Oh, by the way, if you want to get in touch with Bob, you want to try that stack and tilt method, go to venue@Cypresswood at. No, I didn't say that right. Venue, the word at Cypresswood, the weird symbol, at, and gmail.com.
Or just our regular website, which is cypresswoodcc.com.
I think these people do this to me just to see me confused. Because then, after I say something, all right.
It is part of your allure, Mark.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. But he with the mic has the last word, so I've got the last word. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and we'll have to have you out after the opening. Let us know how it went, and we're excited about it.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Well, everybody, one of our marquee events here in Polk County is the Mid-Florida Auto Classic, Mid-Florida Credit Union Auto Classic. Generally brings in about 35,000 people a year. It's a huge event. A lot of celebrities attend, some classic cars. Unfortunately, we were not able to host it this year. However, we do have some great footage to get you primed for 2021. Check this out. Mark and Neal will be back right after this. Everybody, welcome back to segment number 2. Bob Schade, what a great job he did. Dan Talbot, he's up next. Neal?
Yeah, and the second segment
Didn't
brought
mean to
us.
catch you off guard there, buddy.
Well, I was waiting for the pitch. BSN Sports, a proud partner of Tourism and Sports Marketing. We appreciate them, and they are this segment's sponsor. But you mentioned Dan Talbot, Director of Athletics for Polk County Public Schools, and he's been a little bit busy.
He's been real busy, but you're the one that's been chomping at the bit here, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, Dan, welcome to Sports Central, and we have lots of questions.
I'm sure you do what everyone does, but I appreciate you guys always having me on. It's always great to be here.
Well, obviously in different times than normal, and the FHSA, just diving right into it, the FHSA made a few different decisions, but without going into all those decisions, let's just kind of go where we're at. They made the decision that August 24th, that coincidentally coincides with when Polk County Public Schools are supposed to start, that fall sports could resume practices, and then about a 2-week window for competition. From that, where is Polk County?
So we're going to start our fall sports season on August 26th. We're taking Monday and Tuesday, completely no athletics, no conditioning, no nothing. We wanted to give our principals and our teachers 2 days to kind of, because school's going to be interesting, so we would give them a few days to kind of relax and get school started before we introduce fall sports. So we're going to start on Wednesday, August 26th. The FSA did say that you could start competitions 2 weeks later, which completely goes against everything they've always done in the past. And we felt, being in, if you're looking at football particularly, 3 days in pads and playing a football game isn't probably the smartest or safest, so we never even entertained that. So we will begin competitions in Polk County on September 8th.
Wow, that's just a different way to look at it. I think that it's so easy to be an armchair quarterback, and get second guess and all this type of thing. But there's so many things, that Neal, that went into that decision.
Right.
That's just absolutely, amazing. Well, this factor, and I know you deal with it every day and sometimes all night long too. But that's the nature of the business. But the fact of the matter is, you have a son that plays sports. What are his thoughts?
He's going to be a senior this year. So you look at the class that just graduated, and the way that they were affected at the end of their senior year. But you look at this current senior class, and it might be, if you want to use the term, worse for them as far as the potential loss of opportunity. So his response to me was, "Dad, I just want to play." Yeah. And you look at this, I believe there was around 100,000 student athletes in fall sports in FHSA sanctioned schools. So it seems like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Polk County's taking that same stance, and under your leadership taking that same stance of, let's try to find the best way to get games.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key, is to give it an opportunity, because we would do a disservice to our student athletes if we didn't give it a chance and push forward and try to manage through this. It's difficult because we have a lot of multi-sport athletes, so simply being like college football in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten said, we'll move it to March. Right. Well, we have to take in consideration that our athletes play basketball and they wrestle and they do track and field and they do baseball and softball, so that those dynamics really weren't in play. But we have a good plan. I think we're ready. We've had a pretty good summer with our conditioning, and people got to understand we're not just jumping right into this. We've been conditioning and getting ready for this moment since June 15th. Well,
and to your question, in the second part of that answer, my son Logan, I just want to hit somebody. You can only condition so long. If you were a football player, you want to get on the field and actually do it. So that was the second part of that.
Well, it's just, I've heard that over and over and over from parents. They say, I got to get my kid back out on the field or in the gym or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And once they're able to do that with some of the sporting events that have been going on, these kids are like different kids, because they're young, they're just full of
energy.
Yeah, we'll put it that way. And it's just part of life. But you got to give them an outlet, physical outlet, right. Especially boys, that are high energy. So that's one man's thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the next steps, Dan? You're talking about, so the 24th, school starts, no practice, no condition till the 26th, and then 2 weeks essentially of practice before competitions can begin. And I know I don't know if you want to talk about it this way or not, but football is very important to the residents and those folks that live here in Polk County, but it's also important financially to some of the revenue streams for other sports that are taking place throughout the high school season. If you want to comment on that a little bit, just as far as the importance of it.
I mean, everyone will tell you that, football drives the athletic budget for all high schools, but we weren't going to let that determine whether we provide opportunities for kids. I was a big proponent of starting golf and swimming and cross country early, risking the fact that we might not get to football and volleyball. Money seems to come up a lot, but I think in dire situations, the money's going to come through some way or sort. With our community, with our school board, there have been a combination. So we would work through the money issue and not let that be a deterrent not to provide kids those opportunities, because we saw, and we're seeing the effects of what happened to our baseball, track athletes, and softball and lacrosse players and tennis players from last spring.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to ask the question, because I know you and I have had conversations, but there was a misconception that it was all about the money and the decisions were going to be strictly about the money, and there were so many things that went into the decision. I wanted that point to be conveyed to the audience, because it's an important point.
Exactly, and I appreciate you asking that question. I mean, money is a concern, but we're not just going to stop sports because we're not having football.
Right.
I mean, I was a big proponent of July 27th. Let's get golf. They've been doing golf, so let's get golf up and going for those student athletes, because the golfers shouldn't be compared to a football player. There's different restrictions and different precautions that we have to take. Golf is naturally social distance anyway, and let's get them out on the course and moving. But we're excited about August 26th, minus the hurricane possibly headed our way, but we'll deal with that. It's 2020, so what else could go wrong? But we're excited.
We've been through it before, and it kills me when I hear the statement, unprecedented times. Nonsense. I mean, you take a look, you go back to World War I, followed by the Spanish flu that killed 50 million people, the Great Depression, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, I mean, these aren't unprecedented times. Our country has been through so much worse. These are tough times, not unprecedented. So anyway, real quick question about a little reality check here for me. So many of these kids have used sports, and there's nobody in this county that knows this better than you. Part of their career track. They get recruited in college. They do a lot of other things. They may not get recruited, or they'll move into into another sport. It could be water skiing or whatever it may be. But the scholarships and how they're judged early going to make a difference. That's going to be tough for recruiters, and it's going to be tough for schools and the kids, but it's mostly the kids. It is, and it's a very concerning situation, because a lot of our student athletes use the athletic track as so and quote their way out. I told every senior student athlete that I spoke to this summer that had a scholarship offer, take it. Take it right now, commit, be done with it. If something changes, at least you know where you're going. But the concerning part is if you have those student athletes that have waited their turn to be the starter at Bartow High School or George Jenkins High School, that want a chance to prove themselves, they may not get that opportunity. And, especially with the young guys, because recruiting in college is, student athletes are getting offered in the 8th grade, in the 9th grade, in the 10th grade. So getting these student athletes exposure is part of our responsibility to them.
Yeah, I know there's been some changes with different activities, and some of the high schools, the first game of the year is going to be senior night.
Yes, that was one thing we've learned from last spring. Is one of my major complaints is, what about the seniors? What about the seniors? And that's why we did the turn the lights on and try to do anything we could for them. But that's why the recommendation came down for me is, let's do senior night on the first game, because we don't know. And I think games will be more exciting, because when you lose something, you're going to play a little bit harder, because you don't know if the next game will happen. So doing senior night and honoring our senior student athletes and wish them good luck throughout the season is something we're going to try to focus on and get that part of it out of the way, because it is important for the seniors that have been a part of a program for many years. Well, sort of as a follow-up to all of that is the fact that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Once in your lifetime, you're going to be a sophomore. There are a few kids that
they get a second chance at being a sophomore, junior, or senior. Fact of the matter is, you know, it's a very important part, not just the physical side of things, but the emotional development, the discipline that's involved in sports, all the other tangibles and intangibles that go with it. So what is our society missing out on by holding back? Well, you know, these kids are in the prime shape of their life, you know, so the probability of having severe consequences are literally nil. And to take away that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity has got to be a very difficult component of the overall decision that you have to make.
And I think, you know, and I'll say this to every student athlete and every coach, we have a personal responsibility to wear our mask on the bus and wear our mask in the schools and do those things and wash our hands and maybe alter our lifestyle somewhat to allow sports to continue. My biggest fear was when the FHA said fall sports will begin, that people assumed we would just be normal. And we're not normal. So if the student athletes, the coaches can do those little things and allow us to just keep going one game at a time, and then hopefully at the end of the season we got 9 games and 10 games and we start the playoff system. But it just takes the, you know, student athletes are going to have to do some things that they're normally not used to protect the opportunity that has been given to them.
You know, it'd be interesting, sort of on the lighter side of things, but it isn't a light subject. But you monitor the blood pressure of the school administrators, Jackie Bird, yourself, you know, the teachers and so on from the beginning of this and then through all of this type of stuff, and just see those spikes. I'll bet you it's scary.
It is. I mean, the blood pressure's been high because you're getting it from both sides. You know, don't start sports. You're going to do this, and you better start sports, and you're caught in the middle. And you know, I think if, you know, my philosophy is if we're in school, we should be in sports.
I'd be remiss, or we would be remiss, if I didn't quickly say thank you to Dan. The Polk County All Sports Awards was virtual this year on July 21st, and without the great partners at the Ledger Media Group and Polk County Public Schools, Dan and the whole crew, that event wouldn't have been possible. It wouldn't have been near as great as it was, and of course our crew here at PGTV. So everybody coming together, but Dan, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
I couldn't have done it without you. And the school board, we are public thanks and appreciation to all of you for allowing Dan and providing some of the support that we definitely needed. So Dan, thanks
Absolutely.
on my behalf as well.
Anytime.
Well, everyone, you know, it's we were talking about different types of sports that allow for recreational sports that allow for social distancing. One of those is on the water. There's a company in Winter Haven, Florida, and it is called Off the Chain Kayak Company. Off the Chain Kayak Company. They'll actually bring you a kayak, a paddleboard, whatever, to whatever lake you tell them to. Well, we've got some great footage here. Check this out. Maybe this is the activity for you this coming weekend. Mark and Neal will be back with segment number 3 right after this.
See the light of a new day dawning. Feel the love from a beating heart. You catch a ride to the top of the world. This is where we start. No, we can't make it last forever. We gotta use all the time we have. And you know that we'll never say never if we ever get the chance. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. 'Cause life is
Thank you for being sweet.
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 When you follow the 5 safety steps to slow the spread of COVID-19, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're protecting the heart and soul of Polk County, Florida's sweetest spot.
Hey everybody, Mark Jackson along with Neal Duncan for segment number 3 on Sports Central. You know, I don't know why they have to remind me to be sweet. I don't even have to put sugar in my iced tea. Just take my finger, I stir it around a little bit, that's sweet enough.
Since you approved my timesheets, I'm just going to go ahead and move right past that. Hampton Inn, Lakeside Village, proud sponsor of tourism and sports marketing, and sure, whatever he said.
I don't know where we're going with that today, folks. I'm glad this isn't a 2-hour show. It'd probably get real ugly.
It's a good thing it's Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone, it was we got 3 great guys that are VIPs that are coming on the show today, and one of those guys that you know, when it comes to just making a difference in a team, I don't think, at least in my history with Florida Southern, I've seen a difference, as sharp a contrast as I've seen with Mike Donnelly coming in. And I don't mean just the wins and losses. I'm talking about the nature of the team, the attitudes, and so on and so forth. But all of that goes into making, in my opinion, a winning team.
Absolutely, and we have Coach Donnelly with us today, and welcome back to Sports Central, and always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Great to see you guys again. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys were, I've got to read this because there's nobody that, except for Albert Einstein, that can remember all this stuff, but Men's Collegiate Team of the Year at the Polk County All Sports Awards.
Right.
They ended the year ranked number 5 in the NCAA NABC D2 Coaches Top 25 poll, and were ranked number 1 in the South region. And it just keeps going on. I mean, this is just absolutely unbelievable. You glad you moved to Lakeland?
Absolutely. Without question. It took us a couple years, but after year 5, couldn't be happier down here.
Well,
it's been great.
let's be honest, there was a little bit of a rebuild or reload, if you will, after Coach Darner and the team won the national championship, and then he took another position, but there was a lot of seniors on that team. Then you come in and use your system, your players, and now...
And the corporate culture.
Absolutely.
Well, not corporate, but
the team environment.
culture,
yeah. And how much of a frustration, and we certainly understand this has affected everyone. So you're allowed to talk about the team frustration and a lost opportunity in that sense, because this team was potentially marching towards a national championship because you won the conference regular season and tournament title, as Mark said, #1 in the region. That's where this team was headed. So talk about that moment and having to go in and tell the team, hey, we're done. What was that like?
It was an unreal, surreal type of experience for all of us. We had a fantastic year, like you mentioned, but the biggest thing for us being the #1 seed in the South region, we were hosting the regional, at Florida Southern. So we had a huge advantage, and because of that, I think we were odds-on favorite to win the region. And once when you win the region, you can get to the Elite Eight, and then anything can happen. But from a talent standpoint, from a physical standpoint, with our size and athleticism, we were right there. We were right there. Now, of course, you got to get lucky, and there's got to be lucky breaks along the way. Right. But we did have the infrastructure, so to speak, to compete for a national championship. And it was a very, very challenging time for us, and it happened so quickly. And the season ended so abruptly. And when we told our guys, they were in their practice gear. We had practice at 4 o'clock, and we probably found out about 3:50 that the season was canceled, that the season was going to end. So we had to tell the guys in our team room, in their practice gear, that not only was the season over, but they had to evacuate campus as well. So it was a lot of emotion involved, and it was a real tough experience to go through.
Yeah.
We had a similar conversation with the head coach of the women's basketball team at Southeastern, because they were on a same trajectory, same path in their sport, and same kind of thing. They were marching towards a national championship, and I asked Coach, I said, tell me which is worse, knowing how good you were and not getting a chance. Like, the not knowing, is that worse than losing in a national championship? So had you got there and lost, or not having the opportunity at all, which one's worse?
Without question, not knowing.
Yeah.
Not having that opportunity, because our players, our seniors that graduated, our coaches, our coaching staff, the athletic program, not knowing if we had a chance to do something special, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At least if you get to that moment, you have the chance, the opportunity to win that game. Win or lose, at least you had that chance, and we didn't have the opportunity. And that's something that we'll hold on to for the rest of our lives.
Well, maybe you could do an asterisk. I'll pick on UCF. I mean, they claimed a national championship,
You're
so
right.
maybe you could just do an asterisk.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, let's move on from that one, okay?
Just a joke.
You had some real talent this last year, and let's look forward, 2021. What does the team look like?
We lost a lot, like you mentioned, but we do return 9 players from last year's team, 3 starters, and we had a great recruiting class. So, I'm very, very optimistic about our chances for this upcoming year. We're even more athletic, we're even longer and bigger, especially in our front court. We do have to replace the Division II National Player of the Year in Brett Hansen, which won't be fun. But we do have guys that have that next up mentality, and guys that are ready for the opportunity to kind of step up and play more minutes. So I think we have a great chance on paper, to have another special year. Now let's just hope we have that opportunity to have that special season.
Right, and it goes back to what Mark was talking about earlier. There's multiple parts of a program, continuity, but also the culture that has been, you've got your team in there, and you've got your environment, which lends itself to not rebuilding necessarily, but reloading. And Florida Southern has had a long history of having high-level, really good teams. So talk about that pressure a little bit, having that year where maybe that kind of peaked and headed towards the national championship, and then the following year you didn't get to finish the job. Now you have to come back with younger players. Talk about the pressure that goes along with being the head basketball coach at Florida Southern.
Sure, yeah, there's pressure, but it's good pressure. It's pressure that I knew going into the situation 5 years ago when I took over the program that the pressure existed, but it was pressure that is, I think most coaches will say that they've you kind of accept with open arms. But it's a great program, like you mentioned. There's a reason why Florida Southern has always had, some type of huge success as a basketball program, because of the support of the school and our administration. From Dr. Kerr, our president, on down to our athletic director, Drew Howard. They do a fantastic job supporting us. And we all know how special of a place Florida Southern is, and our basketball program continues to be one of the best in the country because of the support of the school and our administration.
Yeah, well, and I think even if you take it one step further, you've got the community surrounding you. It's a community that's used to seeing Florida Southern win, and it's winning. And so that develops even more support. But I mean, I'm talking about all different age groups. You've got people that have retired that are still out there supporting it and getting behind it. You have people that are near there, all the way down to the students and people younger than that. They can't wait to see you guys out on the floor. And so, when you have that kind of community support, it's even hard to put your thumb on, but it really does permeate the community, and it creates a sense of community pride too, which should be a source of satisfaction to you.
Oh, without question. For example, we had a Zoom call with our 6-man members.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are right there in the Lakeland community who have been supporting the program for years. And it was Tuesday night, so it's August 18th. There was over 65 participants on the Zoom call, and we spoke for about 45 minutes. And it's the second time we've had that type of Zoom call in the summer. Mm-hmm. But that's special. And the Lakeland community really gets behind and supports our basketball program, which is fantastic. And we have some great longtime supporters who the program wouldn't be as successful as it has been without their support.
Yeah. Well, and I think it makes a difference in the team itself when you've got the players, that is, when you have that type of support behind you. And unlike the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're fair weather fans. A lot of people, the media even says that, where they'll come out if they're winning, but if they're not winning, they stay home. Florida Southern, they're with you, with the team, through good and bad.
Without question.
And
right.
so that to me is a testament to the level of support that you have. It's the biggest testament to me.
Right.
Absolutely. So how do you replace, just getting back to the basketball portion of it, how do you replace a player like Brett? I mean, National Player of the Year, and National Player of the Year is good, but he also was the Male Collegiate Athlete of the Year at the All Sports Awards, and we know that's more important than,
Absolutely.
than Collegiate Athlete of the Year. But how do you replace a player like Brett?
It's going to be a huge challenge because Brett was a 4-year starter for us, and the ball was in his hands 90% of the time last year. I mean, he led us in assists, steals. He was second in rebounding. So he just did so much for us, both on and off the court, and he meant so much to our program. But I think we've had guys in place who have played more of a complementary role behind Brett and have watched him. And Brett did a great job from a leadership standpoint, kind of showing, all right, this is how you go about your business every day. This is how you approach it. This is how you work. And I'm pretty confident we have guys that are, willing and ready to step up. And you'll never, replace a Brett Hansen, but kind of step in his shoes and, hopefully keep this program going in the right direction.
Well, I think there's some teaching that goes behind that too. I mean, you take a look at Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, the two classic examples where you've had an understudy come up and, be as good or better than the teacher or his predecessor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to a season. I know you guys are doing all the things that you need to do right now and in all sports at Florida Southern to get ready for the season. But, Coach, good luck to you, and we certainly always appreciate you taking time out to have a conversation with us because, as you said, we love all the sports here in Polk County. There's a number of colleges and universities and the high schools, and one of the neat parts is, you talk about Florida Southern being supported by Lakeland, but how the entire Polk County kind of supports each other when there's a need or there's a championship run or things like that.
That's
everybody
right.
kind of supports everybody, but good luck this season.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it for having
Absolutely.
You bet. Well, everybody, before we get into segment number 4, which will be a fun one as well, we have our athlete spotlight, what I like to call up close and personal. And our athlete spotlight this week is Alicia Ruiz. And she is from George Jenkins High School. She's a runner. She was the 2019 and 20 girls cross country runner of the Year and the 2019 FHSAA Class 4A state champion. A lot more accolades, a lot more titles. But here she is to tell you about it. We'll be back right after this.
My name is Alicia Ruiz. I'm in 10th grade and I run track and field and I do cross country for Jenkins. Well, I got inspired by my dad and many other athletes, and it started off like I was racing my cousins and I really didn't take it serious until my dad showed me the sport and I decided to do it. I do a lot of events. I do the 800, 1600, sometimes 32, the 400s, 4x4, 4x8. For cross country, I feel like there's a lot more competition, and I feel like there's hills and it's kind of hard, you can't get tired. And for track, it's basically the same thing, keeping your pace.
Well, I knew she was going to be something special because I already knew about her from what she'd done in middle school, so before she came to Jenkins. So I had watched her. I could tell that she was a hard worker, so I was excited that she was coming and joining the team, and I could tell she had a great attitude just from the few times that I talked to her, so I was excited from that standpoint. Where she has improved the biggest over really the last year is in racing. In the past, she would go out and run, meaning she would go out a lot of times too hard. And that's something that we talked about a lot last year in races. She'd go out way too fast in that first lap, and you could really tell it would affect her in the second lap. So she's dropped her times big time. Just this year alone, she dropped her time from last year in the 400 by 2.5 seconds. She dropped her time in the 800 by 5 seconds. She dropped her time in the 1600 by 18 seconds. Those are huge, huge drops. In cross country, she dropped her time by 42 seconds. But the two biggest thing is, one, she does not take her talent for granted. She's got talent, but she's not resting on any laurels. She knows she's got to continue to work and work hard to continue to get better. And then again, like I said, she became, in my opinion, this past year, both in cross country and track, a much better racer.
Coach, he always pushes me and he tells me what I need and not to do, and it helps me a lot. My teammates are my sisters, and communication skills and being motivated, being a good sport, sticking to the game, don't give up. It's just having faith in God and good practices and good support. My parents are so embarrassing with that. They are so supportive of me and they'll do anything for me. I got injured last year and a lot of people thought I was gonna be able to run again, but I proved them wrong and I got more stronger. I was doing the 200 for a senior night and my hip bone popped and it was very tough.
Yeah, she won Class 4A 800 meters, which is the highest class, and she was actually the first state champion from George Jenkins, girls or guys ever, in track and field in any event. And she ran a perfect race. We talked about the race strategy and she went out and did it. She has a great commitment level. She understands what the word commitment means. I know she wants to run at the next level, so I'm doing everything I can to help her get there, but it's just not out here. She's doing well in the classroom. She's got good grades, because in track and field, unfortunately, they don't give a whole lot of full ride scholarships because they don't have a lot of scholarships. It's not like college football where they have 80 scholarships. Track and field, most schools only have 16 to 17 scholarships, and that's total between the girls and guys team. So they have to break those up. So obviously they look at people like her that have got very good times, but also got the grades and can get money academically. So between the academic and the athletic, that's where the full rides can come into play.
Okay, so I want to be in the 2020 Olympics. So I'm in order to get there, I got to train hard and push through. So you never know what you could do until you try it. Can y'all follow me on Instagram at Alicia_Scott5.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 4 of Sports Central. Dan Talbot, wow. Bob Schade, Mike Donnelly.
Yeah.
What a crew.
3 great guests, and speaking of great, Office Furniture Depot, a great partner of Tourism and Sports Marketing, and the sponsor of our 4th and final segment.
They got some great stuff up there.
Yep.
You know, that's the way to go. But anyway, fact of the matter is, Neal, we've got a lot to go, and we've got a lot to cover here. Professional sports, just so unusual to see the Rays in first place after beating the Yankees. They were a half game behind. They beat them last night, and or the other night, and now they're a half game ahead.
Yeah, a lot of folks going into the season, of course it's an abbreviated season, felt like the Rays had a great chance to not only win the division, but maybe a World Series title. So they hit a little bit of a, 5, 6, 7 game skid there. The Rays did, and in a shortened season, you can't do that. 162 games, you go on a 10-game skid, not as big a deal.
Yeah.
You do that in a 60-game season, pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But they've turned that around. They're now 17-9 on the season, 9-1 in their last 10 games, and as you said, as of last night, took over first place from the Yankees. So looking for big things from the Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, we can't talk about baseball, at least here in Polk County, without talking about the Tigers. What's happening there?
Yeah, so they, as we know, and a lot of people, if you saw last season, know they're in the midst of a rebuild, which happens. That happens in Major League Baseball, unless you're one or two, maybe three of the teams in MLB that just buy consistency. You have to develop your farm system, and you have to bring those players along. And when the Tigers were in the midst of their run for a couple World Series that they were in, they lost a lot of their farm system, because as you trade to get the big name players, usually prospects go to the other team. So as they did that, but anyways, they're in the midst of that. And Casey Mize made his MLB debut on Wednesday. He's one of their hot prospects that they brought in a couple years ago. I think he went 4 1/3 innings, allowing 3 runs, 7 strikeouts. So they're bringing up some of the young talent, and honestly, why not? An abbreviated season, you don't want to bring them along too quickly. You want them to develop the fundamentals the way they need them, but they felt like they were ready, and they brought 3 of their top prospects up, so that's exciting.
Yeah, one of the things you and I talk about quite a bit is the fact that you can go out and see a Flying Tigers game, and you're watching some of the Major League Baseball stars of tomorrow, and that has happened with, there's a couple of guys that were with the Flying Tigers, and one is left-hander Tariq Skubal, who started Tuesday's game against the White Sox, and infielder Isaac Paredes.
Yeah, part of those 3 hot prospects that the Tigers have.
They're all former Flying Tigers.
And there's no minor league season.
Yeah.
So that creates an opportunity for them and to get ready for.
What do you think that's going to do? We're talking about the impact that canceling some of these sports, delaying some of these sports, is going to have on the recruiting. What do you think it's going to do to Major League Baseball?
Well, I think at its core, it takes away a lot of opportunities for players that may have needed time in the minor leagues, found their groove, if you will, and then ultimately made it to the bigs. I think you're going to have less of those success stories because as it gets compressed, there's less roster spots. So simply put, less opportunity and less potential revenue for those individuals.
Well, the NBA bubble, I've been sort of getting an insight into that. My son works for the Hilton Corporation and is telling me a little bit about what's been going on over at the Disney area. But that's an interesting situation, because you had a lottery last night.
Yeah, lottery last night. Timberwolves get the first over pick, Warriors second, Hornets third. But you look at the Magic, of course, the Lakeland Magic here in Polk County, but the Orlando Magic got into the playoffs with the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference and taking on the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks, and shocked the world, if you will, with Game 1 of that series. I read a few articles saying it might be one of top 5 biggest playoff opening game upsets ever, but Milwaukee woke up the next game and they pretty much smashed the Magic.
Yeah,
so,
it was 111 to,
yeah,
I don't even know what it was. It was some astronomical
it wasn't
blowout.
Good.
Yeah.
But series tied 1 game apiece. And I've been able to actually talk about the NBA bubble. Bartow High School graduate in North Carolina, Tony Bradley, is with Utah Jazz, and he's over there and said that it's a neat experience, and though he misses the fans, the way they're playing the games, and because I asked him, I said that Are those green screens that are showing the fans in the stadium, or are those? He's like, oh no, we can see everybody, every one of them. So it's pretty cool. They got the monitors up there, and fans can be a part of the experience. So they're making the best of a bad situation, which is the overall message.
Well, I think that, talking about tourism and sports, our state's largest industries. When you look at what has happened over in Orlando, your heart bleeds for those families, those individuals, they're human beings that have been furloughed or have lost their jobs. But found out the other day that in Orlando, the tourism was down in April, 97% compared to April of 2019, 95% in May, and 90% in June. Now you think about the people that are over there in the tourism industry and how many families that impacts. That's why tourism is so important to the state of Florida. It's new money being dumped into the state of Florida. But unless our society, unless all of you and us are out there spending that money and stimulating the economy, it's going to stagnate. So there's two components. You've got to have the tourism dollars coming in, but we as citizens have the obligation to get out there and support your local businesses and support those businesses that have supported all of us and provided such great products and service over the years, and keep these people employed. Get off the wallet, get out there and spend.
Absolutely, and speaking of some of those local businesses and partners of this show, Staybridge Suites in Lakeland, Hall Communications, Spring Hill Suites in Lakeland, Country Club of Winter Haven, and Harborside. So you talk about partners, those are some of our great partners.
Yeah, and then they're out there supporting those Little League teams and doing all those things that are good corporate citizens. You think about Publix, and all they do for the community. Well, don't forget, everybody, we also have a sister show, the Ugly Sister Show, but it's a great show on 1430 AM and 96.7 FM, WLKF. So make sure you check that out on Thursdays from 5 to 6. It's one of the top drive shows in all of Central Florida, so that is a lot of fun. Well, our next live show, everyone, is going to be September 4th. So make sure you check that out. But in the interim, got a lot of re-air. So go to PGTV. This is Mark Jackson for Neal Duncan. We'll see you again next time.